So today I'll be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. The last episode was a very eventful one as we saw the whole earth get explored and there are no longer any gray areas left and any unexplored land. All of it is explored, and in this episode we'll see the first step towards fully filling in the earth, as at the end of the last episode we saw the scramble for Africa begin over here in the capital of the Pokian Union, with a ton of countries from Europe to Africa being part of this conference and helping to divide this continent. So let's waste no time and get straight into this video. So if you remember from the last video, we have all of these 12 nations being part of the conference, all the way from South Africa to Asia over here with Teria, and to Europe with these 3 European countries in here. And first of all, we'll have to talk about Derlandia, because although in the last video they joined the conference more so as a mediator between all of these countries, they will also, over a pretty short amount of time, in fact pretty much immediately as the conference starts, they will decide to just fully take part in this conference and also take land for themselves. And now we can see what these countries will be claiming out of the continent. And we see the first claim that will be submitted by the Pokian Union, and their claims are gonna be somewhat reasonable, as they will ask for the southern bit of the country in there, and also they will decide that they want to expand over in here a bit into the inner continent, and they'll also decide that for good measure they will take a bit of their brown neighbor in there, and from there they are pretty much done, and this is all they want. And over in here we'll see already some issues starting to arise, as the country over in here will want to keep all of their land and then go to the border of the Pokian Union and take some lands over in here, even meeting up with this Saharan country in here. And then they go even more crazy, as they will want to take the southern portion of their neighbor in here. In a way, kind of working together with this country over in here, as now we'll see that this country will decide to submit their claim next, and they will be asking for quite a bit of land, as they also ask for these islands in here, and also they will ask to go a bit more down over in here and take the northern portion of this country, again kind of cooperating with these guys, and then going to the border of this country, and they will also be asking for all of this, and this does it for their claim. Next up, interestingly enough, is this country over in here, and they will also be asking for a pretty reasonable amount of land, as they will be asking to expand over into here, and also they will decide that they want to go a bit more northern, and they will also be asking for these territories, and this does it for their claim. Next up will be the first colonial claim, and this will be the one of Derlandia, currently the second strongest country in the world, and this guy will be asking for a huge amount of land over into here around the Congo area, and they will even go around over here to the border of Aldicta, which will understandably not really make them happy, and also start to kind of border the area over into here, and pretty much all of this land to the border of this country, which they don't really care about, and down to here, over here, going into the claims of the Pokian Union and getting very close to their capital with their claims. And it's pretty much this is like a huge claim, so we'll see about that. Next up on the list to submit their claim will be this Mediterranean country over in here, and they will be asking for pretty much these territories which no one really wanted. They kind of waited a bit to see what everyone else wants to claim, so that they don't really have to bother about war and tension and stuff, and they will safely go around here and take this. Of course, we can't have nice things in life, so we'll have Teria go over here and bother them, and Teria will be trying to take this tiny little piece of land from them, and also Teria will be going around and really disturbing their land over in here, making a huge claim over their claim, and kind of ask for a lot of the territories that they want, and they will be asking for all of this, which is actually a somewhat reasonable amount of land considering it's the strongest country in the world. Next country over here in Europe is Jetia, and they will decide that they want to take a pretty big colony over in here, and they will be asking for these territories from this country, going also a lot over their claim and over into the territory of these guys and their claims, and also of course ask for these islands and the entirety of this nation in here. So this is a pretty big claim, but again, it's colonialism, so they don't really care. Also, the Jetian claim will not be over, as they will also decide to claim over here in the more South African regions. They'll decide to ask for these territories over in here, claiming over the two nations in there, and also going around over here to more of the South African territories and meeting up with Solevia over down here in the south of the continent. But the reason that they will not ask for Solevia as well is because they will leave them for their ally over here in Siberia, which will decide to claim their territory. And to be honest, Siberia doesn't really want much of Africa. They just really want South Africa, and that's it. And then their Landia will pretty much be like, whoops, my bad. And they will also decide that they want to also take these territories over here in South Africa before everyone else claims it, and they will be asking for these territories, also going pretty much in the Jetian claim and asking for this. And for the final claim in this treaty, we'll see that Aldicta will decide to go over into here and ask for quite a bit of land over here from the Derlandian claim, going over into here. But once they get to these lands, they'll decide to do something a bit more unique, and this is actually that they will be asking pretty much for a puppet government over into these regions, going a lot through the DRC territory and going into here and pretty much claiming huge amount of land over into here from the last African territories. And with this, we see that all of Africa has been claimed, and we can get to actually giving countries these claims that they want. So over this we see just a very small amount of claims being made, and these are all pretty small. And out of all of these claims, first of all we see Teria, and they will be getting this and this little province over in here. Then the biggest claim, and this one is from Aldicta, and they will be kind of establishing their puppet or ally regime over into this territory. Then for the colonial claims, we'll see that Derlandia will go over here and take this tiny colony over here around Nigeria. And also they will be taking their little colony over here around South Africa and Namibia. So this is their colonial claim for now. And finally we see this country over in here take these provinces in here. So far so good, but the main issue over here in the scramble for Africa is that a lot of these countries claim over lands of countries who already exist, like especially over here around South Africa. So we will see the fact that Derlandia will start to solve this issue. And by solving, I mean that Derlandia will go ahead and invade this poor innocent country which did nothing wrong to them. But hey, at the end of the day, this is what colonialism is. So Derlandia will decide to just go around in here and force this country into capitulation. And over into a short peace treaty, we will see that this entire country will get fully annexed by Derlandia. Next up, we'll see that Jetia will decide to invade their targets over here in Mozambique. First of all, they'll go for this Goldie country, take their capital, and from here this country will collapse and be forced into capitulation. And then they'll go into the next country, similar to the gold country around here on the coast, take their capital, from there take their entire coast, and then proceed to totally sweep across this country, and they will clean them up, and again we will see that they will get fully annexed by Jetia. And now for the final target, we will see Siberia, with help and military access from Derlandia, start an invasion of Solevia, also known as the South African nation. And as I said, they'll go over here through the territory of Derlandia, but also across the ocean over in here, and they will be totally decimating them, as Siberia is one of the strongest countries in the world, and going over their territory, they will fully take them out. And in the final peace treaty over in here, we will see that Siberia will fully annex them. Now over here we can talk about these claims kind of being a bit reworked, with Jetia and the Pokian Union kind of working together to kind of weaken the Gambia nation over in here, and that's exactly what they'll do, and they will kind of give them a quick ultimatum, being pretty much, yeah, you are gonna accept the lands that we give you and we are gonna take everything else, and they will unfortunately have to agree. And this is what these guys agree to, and to be honest, this is quite underwhelming for all of these countries. But first of all, we'll see the Pokian Union take all of these territories in the south, still pretty far from what they want to achieve, being like this big old Mali empire thingy. And then this country will pretty much get totally embarrassed, as they only get these two provinces out of Africa, being way less than what they would have wanted. And also they need to let go over their claim over here in the south of this nation. And this pretty much just means that Jetia will be able to get it. And also this will also affect this country, which will kind of have to work some stuff out. And this is what Jetia will agree together with the Morocco country over in here. And of course on the map you really can't see much, but we will see that the Morocco country will also let go over their claim on this country, so now Jetia can fully take it. But instead this country over here, they will get these lands over here that they wanted, plus this island, and also they kind of work with this country and promise them some land. Next up, we'll see over here an agreement between the Mediterranean country and Teria, and with this we will see the Mediterranean country taking these lands, and we will see Teria take this province over in here. And now both of these countries have kind of solved their little border issue, so that's also nice. But now going over here in the Nigerian regions, we see that the Irelandia will try to do something pretty funny, and this is invading the Nigeria country over in here. And immediately as this starts, the Pokian Union will kind of freak out and be like, wait, we didn't agree to this, we also had a claim over this. And as they really can get along with their land, yeah, they will go over here and start to also invade them. But of course, as their Landia is the way stronger and way bigger powerhouse, they will immediately rush the Nigerian country and pretty much take all of these lands out of their territory, just like this. And barely these lands over in here will be able to be taken by the Pokian Union. But as this happens, we will see that the Landia will not hesitate, and immediately going over here into the occupation zones of the Pokian Union, arguing that these lands are rightfully theirs. And immediately as this happens, pretty much the entire countries over in this conference will freak out, as they wanted to prevent war, or like war between the countries in the conference. And so far this is not really going well, as two countries are literally fighting. And now we see that the Landia will go over here in the Pokian Union and start to take land out of them. So because of this, immediately we will see that the conference will pretty much tell both of them to stop fighting, and all of these countries will come together and agree for a peace treaty in between these two countries, ending the fighting between the Landia and the Pokian Union. And ultimately this peace treaty is very unfair, as we see Derlandia fully annexing the Nigeria country, and also they'll go ahead and take these two border provinces from the Pokian Union. And what does the Pokian Union really get out of this peace treaty? Well, pretty much nothing, except the guarantee for Derlandia to no longer expand these territories from their country. But also they get restricted from expanding more over here in the north, so yeah, they are pretty much screwed. But at the end of the day, this is colonialism, and also for kind of like a compensation for Aldicta, because they kind of try to save them in the peace treaty and not have them lose land. Aldicta will get compensated these territories, so they pretty much trade an ally for an ally. And now with their way freed, we'll see that Derlandia will decide to expand over here in kind of their bordering territories which no one else claims anymore, and they will grow their colony over here bigger, and also to kind of ensure that the Pokian Union or their little neighbor over in here don't break the treaty that they just signed. They will also go ahead and sell this land to mercenaries, and this will lead to the formation of this new orange country over in here. And now countries will kind of get the hang of the fact that land in Africa is lessening. So because of this recent memo that JTA had gotten, they'll decide to wait no more and decide to finally invade this country over in here, which they actually waited for quite a bit of time to invade. Reason? Pretty much not a reason for waiting this long, but eventually they just invade them and totally decimate them. And yet again, we will see another full annexation and colonialism getting pretty scary. Although scary, it will still happen nevertheless, as we'll see now JT are going over here and taking their promised lands from the Morocco country, and now we'll see this country going over here and expanding a bit. And this is the territory that this country will take over in here, and now Africa is almost done and completely filled in, only with South Africa and over here Central Africa remaining. But now we are gonna take a bit of a break from the scramble for Africa before we can fully finish it, and that's because we'll go over here to the Russian regions, and that's because Ivoria is gonna gear up and go to war with a country, and this country will be none other than this country over in here, the St. Petersburg country. Now in like the last couple of episodes, Ivoria has been quite chill and they actually lost this Seafoam country over in here, and also they've helped to defeat Derlandia in the Derlandian coalition, but again that was quite a bit of time ago. Of the most recent times they've been quite isolated and neutral, but now they will finally go to war, and when they do this they will totally decimate these guys and proceed to win, and they will actually end up fully annexing the St. Petersburg country. But now coming back over here to Africa to finally finish off this continent, we'll have two more treaties happen. First of all, over here in South Africa between the colonialists, Al Dicta and this country over in here. And in this treaty, we will see that Derlandia will take more of these lands over here in Namibia, and over here Jetia will take more of these lands over here in Mozambique, finally completing their colonies. And to these guys, we will see that this country will take more of these territories, and finally Al Dicta will take the final territories for their like puppet ally over in here. And now over here to the last territories over into here between Teria, Al Dicta and Derlandia, the final treaty. And this is how the last African territories will get split, with Teria taking some of these lands over here more in the Chad regions. We'll see Al Dicta take a bit of these lands over here on their border, and finally completing here their puppet ally government. And over here in the last territories, we see that Derlandia finishes off their colony and takes everything that they have wanted, by also taking these last territories over here in Chad. And for the final split of Africa over here in the territories of Al Dicta, we will see that they will finally establish their allies over in here with this little country over in here, and finally this massive DRC country over in here. And with this, Africa has been fully filled in and colonized by all of the countries over here in the continent, and also the colonial powers over here in Europe. And with this, the first step towards fully filling in the world map, starting with the scramble for Africa, was successful. But now with Africa filled in, for the final event of this video, we'll have to go over here to the fellow continent over into here, being South America, and more especially over here to Hibernia. And this is because they see what happened over here in Africa with them fully filling in the continent, and they decide that they want to do something similar and that this seems fun. So with this we see that Hibernia invites all of the South American countries over here to their capital on this island, and they will discuss the idea of fully filling in South America and claiming the entirety of this continent, and this will be known as the South American Accords. And that will do it for this video, and in the next episode we'll see the South American Accords take place and South America getting fully filled in. And again, that will do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.